Hello everyone and welcome back to another James as Well video. So in today's video I'm going to show you how to install HID bulbs into your car. Now today I'm going to be working on my Vauxhall Corsa SXI. The process to install these HIDs is going to be fairly similar on all models. The only thing that may be different is you might not have to remove the headlights on some other cars, whereas on my vehicle I'm going to actually remove the headlights to install the HIDs. I probably could get away with keeping them on the car, but to make it easier for filming purposes and just to make it easier for myself, I'm going to go ahead and remove the headlights from the car. To do so I actually have to remove the whole front bumper. For those that have got this car and want to do the same, the bolts, there's one here, an 8mm, one in the middle there, one there. There's also a couple of fasteners that around the wheel arch which you'll need to remove, and there's also 3 plastic clips along the bottom underneath the car which you'll need to get as well. I'm not going to show you me removing them because this is meant to be more of a universal video, but if you have this car, so you just have to remove them. Okay, so with the bumper removed, it now gives us access to take our headlights off. They're held on by 3 bolts. There's an 8mm there, another 8mm there, and there's also an 8mm right here, and it's the same on the other side too. So now removed our bolts, we can simply pull this headlight away, like so, and then we just have to disconnect our wire, which is this connector here. You just have to pull this red tab towards you this way, and it'll unclip. Okay, so we now have both headlights removed from the vehicle. As you can see, as I said before, these are the projector style headlights, so they've got the projector lens that gives a really nice beam pattern. This is the back of them. This way your main beam is situated just behind this plastic bit here. You've got your wiring and stuff in there. This is also the bit that levels the lights. In this one you've got your high beam and your side light, and then this one is your indicator. Now we're going to be focusing on this bit for now. We'll come back to this shortly. I'm going to do a little bit to this as well, but this is our main bit that we're focusing on, as well as the cover. Don't keep your covers, don't forget these, you're going to need them. Now this is the connector that goes onto the bulb. All we're going to do is pull this away, and now the bulbs are held in by the retaining clips. What you do is you push them forwards and then bring them round. It's kind of like a swinging motion, just like so, and then the bulb pretty much falls out on its own, like so. Now I'm going to say this at the start just so you know, when you buy your HIDs, make sure you buy the correct ones. Now these are an H7 bulb. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see that, but it says H7 right there. You can kind of see that, H7 12 volts. Make sure you buy an HID kit that is H7 bulbs if your vehicle takes them. If it takes other bulbs, make sure you get them, but it's very important because the connections will be all wrong, the bulb won't fit in, and you're just going to mess everything up. Now we've got an H7 HID kit. It plugs directly into stock wires, which is awesome. We can tack it all away nicely in there. Now for the fitting process. So here we have our HID. It consists of a ballast, the wiring harness, a couple of connectors. We have a rubber grommet. This is our power and our ground to the HID, and this is the actual bulb itself. Now all we're going to do is we're going to fit the bulb as you normally would into your headlights. Okay, so it's going to go upside down. There's a kind of a little lug, and that goes on the bottom. You see that there? Goes on the bottom, and you just feed it in like so. Make sure you seat it nicely, make sure it sits, and then you're just going to put your retaining clips back in. They're going to be a little bit more difficult to get in this time because it's a slightly different design of the bulb, but with a little bit of persuasion, I'm going to use a screwdriver to make it a little bit easier to push these metal prongs around the back and clip them in just like so. This just helps you from hurting your fingers because these wires are really small, they can dig into your thumbs. So I'm just going to use a flat blade screwdriver and push them in nicely like so. So now that is firmly in there, it's not going to go anywhere. Next we need to connect our wires. Now you've got a red wire and a black wire. Zoom in here. So we've got a red wire and a black wire on our loom, and then on the actual connector itself we have a yellow wire and 2 browns. Now the browns are going to be your grounds and your yellow is going to be your power. So your red is going to go to the yellow, and all we're going to do is, these are just little spade connectors, just plug it in like so, and the black is just going to go into the browns like so. So now that's all plugged in, wired up. I'm just going to disconnect this wiring harness from the ballast, and I'll show you why in a second. Now if you haven't caught on already, you're probably wondering how we're going to get this wiring harness through this cover when there's no holes in this cover, because what we want is we want this headlight still to be watertight. What this has is a rubber seal around the case to stop moisture and stuff getting inside the headlight. Now what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to figure out a way of feeding this cable through this back cover, as we have a rubber grommet on here. I don't know how well you can see that. There's a rubber grommet on the wiring, and that's going to have to sit inside this through a hole just to keep this all watertight. Now, so what I'm actually going to do to make the hole in the back of this plate is I've got one of these comb bits, and as you can see it's going to make a nice perfect hole so that our rubber grommet will sit in there really nicely. Now we need to figure out whereabouts we're going to have this. So this is going to be sitting at around the middle. So I think if we use this hole that's already in it as a reference, this dot here, if we drill straight into that, I think we'll be good. Okay, let's get drilling. So I'm going to go for about 20 mil for the first hole. Going to need to try and keep this still somehow. So as you can see, we've got like pretty much a perfect hole there. I think I'm going to go a little bit bigger than that, but we're getting there. So we're now at 22 mil almost, about 21 mil. I'm just going to try that and see if it fits. Okay, so it's a bit too small. I'm going to try a bit bigger. Okay guys, so that is around 24-25 mil of a hole. It's just enough to pass our connector through. As you can see, it's very tight, but it just manages to go through. We can then go ahead and put our other wiring through. And then the real test is this rubber grommet, which we want to fit on there. It's a little bit loose. I could probably do with going a tiny bit smaller, but it's going to do the job. And then all we're going to want to do is just tuck everything in there nicely. There we go. I call that pretty well sealed. Now, I'm going to go ahead and attach our ballast. You can't go wrong with these connections. They are dumb person proof. All you have to do is just plug them in until they click, like so. 1 and 2. So that's all connected, and then we just have to plug our last wire into our ballast, like so. And now this headlight is ready to go back on. All we have to do once it's back on the car is make sure we find a place to securely mount this ballast, and that's it. Just going to do the same to the other one. So we've gone ahead and get our HOD set up in both lights. They are now installed in this one and installed in this one. Ballasts are all ready. Now what you're going to want to do is test them before we go ahead and put this all back together and find out that one of them isn't working. What we're going to do is just going to plug them into the main plug, check that all bulbs are working, and then we can go ahead and install them properly. Now what I've also done, I don't know if you can see this here, is I've actually gone ahead and installed some side lights, some small little LED ones. I'm just going to test them, make sure they work as well. Yeah, should be all good. I'm going to go ahead and install both these headlights back on, and we'll check that they work. Okay, so we've got our headlights installed back on the car, both left and right. I'm now going to switch the car on and just check, make sure we've got lights. Okay, so we've got our headlights in position. We're holding them in with just a couple of bolts, just loosely. The next step is to find a home for our ballast. Now, as you can see, it's fairly chunky, takes up a fair amount of room. We kind of just need to find somewhere where it's not going to rub up against anything or cause any damage, and just somewhere secure so that we can cable tie it down out of the way. Now, luckily on these Corsas, what they seem to have is like this plate just here, random plate, which I'm going to take advantage of. What I'm actually going to do is, if I lay that down there like so, I'm just going to run a cable tie around the wiring here at the bottom, just around here, and then I'm also going to cable tie it around this main area here, just to keep it nice and secure against there. It's not going to move anywhere, doesn't interfere with anything, nothing moving, so that should be a good spot. Okay, so on the driver's side I've actually had to be a little bit more inventive. I've actually taken the whole airbox out, as you can see, and I've tucked it down there, cable tied it to the frame, and I also like tidied the wiring up and stuff, so that's all going to sit in there nicely. It's nice and firm on there, it's not going to go anywhere. Again, it's not near anything that moves, not near any heat, so it should be all good just there. Okay, so as you can see, we have the headlights back on. They're all bolted up, secure. This is where they're going to stay from now on. I'm just going to check that the lights, again, before I put the bumper on, work. You want to keep checking them intermittently just to make sure that everything's right, so you don't have to take a load of things back off. So I'm just going to check them all, and if they work, we can go ahead and sling the bumper on and get this install wrapped up. Looks good to me. Well, there we have it, guys. The HIDs are installed. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm sorry it wasn't a little bit more informative and a little bit more detailed, but it's late at night and it's kind of hard to film in the dark. But I hope you got the gist of how to install them. Obviously this is going to vary from vehicle to vehicle, so make sure you get the right ones for your vehicle, and have fun with it. And I'll see you guys in the next video.
Turn us to thousands.